So for the people out there, what are like the intricacies of cooperation? Like, how do you arrive to such a conclusion?
If I don't think I can win,
Mm.
if I don't think that my client's got a chance of winning in a courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
and the risk of going forward in a trial far, far exceeds the chances of me being successful,
Right.
I won't tell them to take the risk. I'll give you a best idea. Let's assume you get caught with a kilo of cocaine.
All right.
Okay?
Just one?
Just one.
Colombian
Small amount.
Bam Bam.
Yeah, it's just a weekend's worth. Uh,
Okay.
and it's in your vehicle.
All right.
And they've also got a wiretap. And they've got you talking about having just picked it up.
Oh, shit.
Right?
Right.
Now, you come to me and say, I want you to represent me. And I say, okay, fine, pay me the fee. Fee's paid.
Okay.
Then they say, all right, tell me, what are the chances of me walking away from this? And I look at them and I say, slim to none.
After the fee's been paid.
After the fee's been paid.
Okay.
You don't get full representation until after you've paid for it. So if they say, well, what are my options? Your options are we can fight as long as we can.
Right.
Or you can decide that you'd like to try to cooperate.
Yeah.
Well, what does cooperation mean? Cooperation, if it's with the feds, means you're selling your soul to the feds. You now become, essentially, I hate to say it this way, become a slave to the feds.
Yeah.
And you're going to do what they tell you to do. And if you're not willing to do it and do it all the way, don't do it. Stay out of it because it ain't going to work out.
And that is, I think, why in our culture it's so frowned upon.
Of course it is. And it should be, because it's always been used as a means to take advantage of certain groups.
Absolutely. And I mean, but I'm saying, like, it also makes it to where
you're back into the old days.
Law enforcement doesn't have to do their job as much as defense attorneys like you would have to. And like
sure,
you said,
it makes it simple for them.
And like you said, it's reminiscent of, when people like Harriet Tubman were forming the Underground Railroad to free slaves from their plantations. There were other slaves who were telling when these actions were being taken place, and the outcome was catastrophic. So things like that today are reminiscent of then.
Absolutely. But the system is set up, particularly the federal system, with mandatory minimum sentences.
Right.
That you can't get under these mandatory minimum sentences
Right.
without some form of cooperation.
Right. Why you think white guys don't really care much about it? Like, like nobody, they don't have any kind of, I don't think they care.
I'd say for the most part you're correct, but I got to tell you, there are a group who have simply, they take the position ain't going to happen. I represent someone right now who his position is, I've done what I've done.
That's right.
And I'm going to fight this till the end. And I wind up going away for a long time. That's just the way it works. I knew what I was getting into.
That's solid.
And I'm not putting anybody else in the position that I'm in by cooperating.
And that's solid.
That's fine. It makes it great for me. Then I can just put the conversation aside and say, let's go to war.
Yeah, that's solid. And I think even more so is when people cooperate, not just that, okay, you told on somebody who was connected into this crime, but now you got to tell all the intricate details of the crime and how you were getting away for as long as you did.
Absolutely.
And
your whole history.
And so now you're not just telling on this one person, but essentially you telling on everybody else who committing this same crime after you. You know what I mean?
There's no question about it. That's when the feds want you to cooperate, and I speak about the feds because it's easier to do it on a national basis.
Right.
They expect you to open up and tell them every damn thing you've done and who the hell you did it with.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to tell them, they don't consider it to be real cooperation. And then you got to sit back and say, now I've told you all this, what am I going to get out of it?
Right.
Because they don't want to tell you what it is up front. They want to see your performance first.
Oh, man, you know what? That brings me to a phenomenal
I thought
question.
you were going to say it brought you to a commercial.
Nah, not at all. That brings me to a phenomenal question. So there's a huge case. Of course, the guy Tekashi 6ix9ine who told
absolutely.
his gang members. Now, one thing about, my case, before I entered my plea, we already knew what the time was that I was looking at receiving.
Correct. We had what's called a binding plea deal.
Right.
Which is very, very, very unusual. It almost never happens, and some judges will not accept it.
And, okay, so I want to know how we got that for me. And I also want to know...
Because we wouldn't accept anything else but that. I wasn't going to give a judge a chance to fuck you over once we entered into it. And unfortunately, that's what would have happened. We had a good judge. We had a good man.
Yes.
But the undercurrent would have been, I'm going to treat him like I've treated others.
Right.
Which meant you were going to jail for a number of years.
Even
I couldn't let that happen.
Yeah. And that's what makes you, you know, like in my eyes, you and the rest of the defense team that represented me, y'all, I think y'all are the best that there are. You know what I'm saying? At least best I know. But for him, so he testified, he cooperated, he did everything that they asked for him to do. He told on motherfuckers wasn't even on the case. He told on Cardi B. He told on Casanova. He told on Jim Jones. He's saying names that's not even on his case. And he was expecting to get out in a month or so. And they said, nah, bro, you still gonna have to do some more time. So imagine, so you basically essentially sold your soul, gave them everything it is that you have to give, and you still are at their mercy.
Always. That's what's wrong with the whole system. If you can't cut the deal for certain, which is a binding plea,
right?
You're always at their mercy, because they'll come in and say, well, you know, we didn't promise you anything. We just told you we'd bring your cooperation to the attention of the sentencing judge. And we're doing that, and now we're also recommending you spend some significant time in jail.